Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really happy to be here to give us BMW Group's view on how the digital age is going to impact the automotive industry and how we as the BMW Group are embracing that change and taking that as an opportunity to redefine the future of mobility. One thing is for sure, I think the next 5 years in the automotive industry will show more changes than probably over the past few decades. And it's not only about electromobility, the topics which have been known up to now, but I think what is going to have a much, much bigger impact on us is the digitalization of the industry. The car is becoming the ultimate smart device with so many sensors and content and data generated, and the car will be much deeper integrated into our daily life, the daily life of the customers, the digital life of the customers we are used to, in order to create basically delightful, personalized, and context-sensitive experiences. This change is basically driven by 4 major pillars, which basically helps us to accelerate all these developments. The first one is cloud computing is available at basically very reasonable cost everywhere, anytime. Big data, data analytics capability help us to create insights and get much richer experiences into the hands of the consumer. Personal smart devices, there's a whole range, more and more devices coming to the market. They're becoming part of our everyday life, so they are becoming touch points where you can integrate the car with the digital life. And finally, the Internet of Things. I mean, one of the big buzzwords of these days, where the Internet of Things promises that you can seamlessly interconnect all these smart devices, not only within one industry vertical, but across industry boundaries, which makes it really interesting to basically connect the car to whatever IoT devices. Powered by these enablers, we think there are a few key playgrounds where we need to focus on. And we have basically, we are calling on 3 here. The first one is automated driving, starting with driving assistance systems, and in the not too distant future, basically fully automated driving. The second one, and that's the focus of today, is basically how we integrate the car into the digital life of the consumers through multiple digital touch points. That's the digital services part. And finally, the third one is building on the first 2 because we believe that autonomous driving and the digitalization of the car, the connected car, will require a totally different interior design and totally different interaction mechanisms in a radically different way than today. This leads basically to a situation where the automotive industry, which is a pretty closed environment where you have tier 1s, the OEMs, and basically then the dealers, which is the traditional setup, will move into a much bigger setup, which is the mobility industry. And new players are getting in, and this has been discussed before already. Either these are the internet players, where there's a lot of talk about, or these are totally new mobility companies like the Uber or Lyft. For the BMW Group, this means we need to invent basically ourselves and reinvent individual premium mobility. And that's what we have done over the past 100 years. This year is our 100th anniversary. And there's new opportunities ahead in order to do that through digitalization. And mobility for us starts long before entering the car. It's not about apps in the car. It's basically making sure that the mobility experience of the consumer is the perfect one, whether you are driving your own BMW, whether you're driving a Drive Now car, whatever the mobility mechanism is. And we believe that the car itself is still the most prominent individual mobility concept, and that probably also won't change. But the car will change in itself and be redefined to be a much smarter device and be connected to the outer world. And we believe that highly personalized, context-sensitive, and very delightful consumer experiences, which are on par with the consumer electronics industry, can help us to drive this industry forward. One of the approaches we have is our personal mobility companion, BMW Connected, which we have just come out with at the CES in Las Vegas. And we envisioned the future of mobility as being really stressless, convenient, and integrated across multiple mobility concepts, but also multiple customer touch points. By minimizing for the customer resource requirements, energy, and also time and money, at the same time. And for us, it's really the utmost to create delightful consumer experiences to meet our customers' demands. In order to do, though, to create personalization, to create context, it is important to create basically a dynamic profile about the customer. And that's what we call the mobility graph. Basically, the consumer has a behavior. The consumer basically drives at a certain day to a certain destination. We have a lot of vehicle data about driving behavior, and all of that can be compiled to a very personal consumer profile, which helps us to come up with these personal and context-sensitive experiences, and we call that the mobility graph of our individual customers. And let me give you an example of how all this could work together in a very simple way. And I think now that will run, yes. So imagine you drive home and the car connects with what we call the Open Mobility Cloud. And the Open Mobility Cloud receives all information to support your driving during the trip, and in order to allow for personalization. And it itself links also to all types of content sources, whether it's weather, traffic information, personal data, such as your usual routes, and many other things. And in this scenario, BMW not only plans your trip, it also notifies you about changes throughout your trip and about the estimated time of arrival there. And your home at the same time will also be connected to your car. And when you arrive at home, it will be warm and cozy, and you have basically the connectivity between the home and the car. And this is a simple example of how this cloud basically manages and interacts with different IoT devices, different means, in order to create a seamless experience for the customer at the end of the day. This platform approach we have consists of a few elements. The first one is we serve a multitude of customer touchpoints. It's not only about a smartphone app, which you of course also will have, and all the mobile devices. It's about your PC at work, it's about your home environment, and it's about all different types of IoT devices, but also obviously about the in-car experience. And so we are able to integrate all those in order to create one seamless customer journey. On the other side, we have a very simple way to integrate content partners to enrich that personal mobility graph you have. Whether it's weather information, real-time weather information, or other content sources, let it be media or whatever, it all will be aggregated and worked through by the Open Mobility Cloud. What is important is that the foundation for that platform is basically machine learning analytics capabilities, which allow us to really bring intelligence into the car, power the car by intelligent and personalized experiences. And on top of that platform, you can easily build services either by BMW itself or through third parties. Let me use two use cases which have been showcased at the CES in Las Vegas to basically show how we interact with the home and with third-party devices. And we have developed together with Amazon an Amazon Alexa skill, which is pretty simple, but this Amazon Alexa or Echo device is standing at home, it interacts with you in a very personal way, and we basically integrated BMW Connected with Alexa.
With current traffic conditions, leave at 7:10 to park and arrive for your 7:30 reservation.
So all of that is fed by real-time traffic information, personal preferences, your personal routes, and you can also ask, for example, for your i3 charging status. And this basically suddenly extends the range of the car into your home to interact with the car from different touch points. Another example is an integration with Microsoft Cortana, another digital assistant, where we basically have a use case here when you interact with it at work. I imagine you are at work and you need to schedule a lunch reservation, and you just ask Cortana for a nice restaurant tip.
I found Samosa, Asia Gate, Bluefin Cafe, all have availability at 12:30.
So
which one would you like to select?
So Cortana is basically doing the reservation for you.
Your reservation is set.
And
if
then
you'd like, I can send the address to BMW Connected.
and then it sends the address directly into BMW Connected. You will get a time to leave notification based on your reservation time and the current traffic situation. As soon as you get in your car, all the relevant data and information is transferred into your car, and with one click, you're basically up for your final destination, the restaurant you want to get in. Another way to seamlessly connect the dots between different experiences and basically allow for that consumer journey. The platform for the Open Mobility Cloud for us is an open platform, which means we encourage partners to come in, content streams, content feeds, but also technology partners to integrate either on the touchpoint side or on the content side and evolve that platform forward. So we invite companies to work jointly with us to make this happen and to make mobility become an integral part of our customers' digital life. And this, in combination with autonomous driving and a radically new interior design, will allow us basically to think the future differently, the future of mobility in a totally different and new way, and we hope that we can drive that future together. Thank you for your attention, and I think with that one we are up for the discussion now.
I'm going to talk about a couple of issues in a little more detail. Thank you, Dieter. It's a compelling vision. But I did note in that slide where there was a human being's hands, there was also a steering wheel.
Yes.
We were sitting, me and Ian Robertson, the head of sales at BMW, on the same seats this time last year. And I asked him, how long until BMW is selling completely autonomous cars in Europe to consumers? And he said, well, it could be 7 years. Are we still that kind of distance away?
You said it could be 7 years or it will be 7 years?
Well, he kind of said 7, maybe 10 years.
I think it was a year ago, no? I think so. I guess what had happened during that past 12 months is that there's an acceleration in terms of autonomous driving efforts from all parties, whether it's the traditional OEMs or potential new entrants. I think it will not be in the too distant future, but I can't give you a number. I think what you can see is the seriousness of the different players, and I want only to refer to the recent acquisition of the 3 German premium OEMs to buy here the high-definition map maker from Nokia, which basically is a fundamental asset to allow us to do autonomous driving. So things will accelerate, but I'm not in a position to give you a final year here. So.
And how seriously inside BMW is the research project for completely autonomous cars being taken?
I think we are pretty serious about it because I think as a premium OEM, you need to be very competitive in these 3 playing fields I've shown. It's autonomous driving, digital services, and then radically new interior design, which comes with autonomous driving, where you suddenly have spare time and your car probably needs to look more like your living room than, the car's look and feel of today. So we are very serious about that. And it's, let's say, these are the 3 topics for our future.
So you're a man with a design mindset. You're looking at services, digital services, but what the physical car will be as well. How will the physical interior of the BMW of 10 years from now differ from what we have now?
I think for this one, you probably should tomorrow attend the session with Adrian von Hooydonk, our chief designer, who will give you more insight on that one. And but as said, I think it will be radically different. It must be radically different, and he should give you a great view on this one tomorrow. You will see it in a very visual way, I guess.
I hear a lot of investors in this sector talking about the fundamental shift from ownership of the vehicle to access to mobility. And the consequence could be fewer people actually buying the car, but actually buying access to the service. And I know BMW, among other car companies, has been working on providing a membership to the service. Do you see the public appetite for owning the vehicle itself changing in any significant way in the next 5 to 10 years?
It will depend a lot on the markets you're in and that whether you are then in big city versus whether you are on the countryside. I guess there are new mobility concepts coming up. Mobility will change. You probably go from, BMW in the future will be measured no longer on how many cars we sold, but how many kilometers will be driven with a BMW to reflect new mobility concepts. And we are preparing for that by, on one hand, investing in startups in that space. Secondly, by having our own Drive Now activities, which is basically already car sharing and where we are learning and where we are rolling out. And we have gained 180,000 new users or new customers over the past 12 months in Germany. Plus, we are investing in the digital space and autonomous driving in order to prepare for new mobility concepts and models. And I guess the industry will change in a way that it's not only about technology changes, but also about business model changes.
So how does BMW maintain that competitive advantage in an era where increasingly people will be choosing mobility over a particular car?
As I said, I mean, we are in that car sharing world as well, and I mean, and we are going to scale that much faster than we did up to now. So we are having a hook in there, and then obviously probably customers will change for us. I mean, probably that's more fleet management companies who are going to buy BMWs instead of individuals. I mean, there's a lot of things. I think it's a very fluid situation right now, and it's hard to predict. We have the approach to basically have a foot in the door in order to potentially play a role in whatever concept comes up at the end of the day.
So the way you describe the motor car increasingly sounds like the mobile phone that happens to have wheels on. And as we know, the phones are collecting all sorts of amazing layers of data. They can know more about us than our partners based on knowing where we've been. What kind of data do you see your cars in the future collecting? And we're in Germany, data is a sensitive issue. How much consumer acceptance do you see of this sort of data collection?
I mean, the amazing thing is that about the car industry, you have this data security and privacy discussion, I mean, very prominent in the press. If you think about ourselves, I mean, what we are allowing on the smartphone, I mean, that's quite a difference in behavior right now. I personally believe that privacy is the most important thing, and the customer needs to be in control of whatever data goes out. I think if the consumer experience is good enough, or very attractive, very compelling, then customers or consumers are willing that we use that data in order to make a better car or product experience. We are not in the business to sell data. We use data and analyze data in order to make the usage of the car and the value proposition of the car the best possible. That's our approach. So I think with that one, we should be on the safe side.
And give us some examples of what kind of data that you'll be able to use to improve the experience. We're in a world where there'll be sensors in the city streets. The Internet of Things becomes a reality. How will the car be collecting information that maybe you're not at the moment?
So, I mean, we have, as you said, we have all these sensors in the car, and think about there is an accident or a new construction site on the road, which is not on any map. And with the sensors and by exchanging data amongst the different cars in the fleet, you could basically build a value proposition which is called local danger warning. Basically, you get an immediate warning, hey, drive slowly because there's something on the road. I guess a consumer, I mean, if he basically gets alerted that around the corner there's another car which has been in an accident, and you are allowed, I mean, you can get safely around this, I mean, why wouldn't I share that data? You know, because it helps me to have a better user experience. So it's all types of either personal data or vehicle data you can use to combine that to better experiences for the customer. But it's all about creating a better product experience. You're not a car industry guy by background. You only joined BMW just over a year ago. Yes. You've worked for people like Nokia, Motorola, Semiconductors. How different is it working on digital services in a motor company? So in a one-on-one, I would probably tell you something else. But it's very different. It's very, very different. And it was already quite a difference to work in a phone company when you come from the digital space. And, but there, I mean, development cycles were 9 months, and my development cycles in my unit are 4 weeks or so, like classic internet services. And now we are basically facing a several-year development cycle, which obviously gives us challenges, and you need to find workarounds. I mean, both sides need to get closer to each other, and it's a matter of fact that the car, as it is today, when it leaves the factory, it's finished. In the future, that's no longer the case, because there will be software updates all the way. There's new releases, new functionalities coming on. The car will be much more configurable. So I think our mainstream R&D processes are going to change, and we are working on that to accommodate the digital world in the classic car processes.
So, coming from the tech world, give a wider bit of advice from people in traditional industries. I mean, motoring is a traditional industry. What have you learned that you're putting in place inside BMW that you think some people here in their very successful but traditional industries need to adopt?
I think digital transformation is not something you can. Many people are talking about digital transformation. That's the buzzword of the day. And I think digital transformation you can't orchestrate through an abstract staff function, which then tries to orchestrate across the company, and he gets nowhere. I think it needs to happen the hard way, I would say. You need to implant something, be operational as fast as possible, and lead by example how things are different. And that's really the hard way, I would say. But it is much more promising, because at a certain point you have a tipping point in the company, because people just see, oh guys, they are really on a 4 weeks release cycle for their stuff. So I know I probably need to change myself now as well. And you suddenly see that you get out experiences not once a year, but if you have own R&D resources and you're not outsourcing this stuff, I mean, you have much more impact to also get direct customer engagement and learn from the customer what he uses and what he wants. That's not what is typical for the car industry, which works in a tiering model, where you outsource to tier ones and then other suppliers, but digital you can't do through outsourcing. Digital you need to live and breathe on a daily basis, and you need to directly engage with the customer, and that's, I think, what the big learning for us, or for me personally, is that orchestration is not working. You need to be really on the ground and come up with digital experiences and show how it needs to be done.
Last question from me. There is another company that's involved in digital services, and it also makes smartphones, and it's quite a successful company based in Cupertino.
Oh, this one, okay.
Called Apple.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rumors that they are taking mobility very seriously, and are working on cars.
Okay.
It is reported.
Okay. Yeah.
Do they have the knowledge, the capability that a company like BMW has to make it a success?
They are coming from another angle. I mean, they are coming from the user experience side, from the digital world, whereas we have other assets today and we are moving in the other direction. So everybody has its strengths and weaknesses. We know it's not too simple to get a fully connected digital car. And I guess this other company probably understands as well that, I mean, there are assets involved which are not too simple to imitate either. I mean, so a car is not a smartphone. That is what I learned personally, because it's a much higher complexity in order to get that one on the road. So it will be interesting, and we welcome competition, and let's see what the future brings.
Thank you very much. Dieter May.
Yeah. Thank you.